you may remember last week that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, stood up in the Commons and said that we've listened. This was in response to the crescendo of calls for the government to abandon its cruel axing of the winter fuel allowance. That was the 300 quid that the government used to give to every pensioner to help them pay for fuel to keep themselves warm through the cold winter months. Now, the response to that from many people in the Labour Party has been furious, and around the country. I mean, you know, what kind of a government wants to freeze pensioners to death? Now, last week, the Prime Minister, and it was all hailed as a U-turn by the government, astonishing U-turn. The winter fuel allowance is back. I said at the time, there's no way this is the case. What it actually was some kind of very, very wishy-washy announcement about, like, they're means testing it now. So you have to, if you're a pensioner and you want to get some kind of allowance, you have to fill in about 250 questions, massive form. You're means tested as to whether or not you. So they used to give it no questions asked to every single pensioner. Now there's a strict means test, and I said as soon as he made that, all the press, U-turn, dramatic U-turn. Here's what I had to say last week. Didn't cost the government all that much money. It was handy. They axed it. Now he says, "Oh, I'm bringing it." He's not. They're going to mean test it. It's not bringing back the winter fuel allowance. It's just another Keir Starmer snake oil salesman announcement. Put it quite well, I think, there. Yes, James. So today, Labour have confirmed that indeed there will be no U-turn. All that's happened is the means test that they brought in, which, as I say, apparently involves answering about 250 questions, will be slightly less strict. So the point is, unless a U-turn has to involve this, the restoring of the payment of £300 to every single old age pensioner in this country, like it used to be. That is a U-turn. If he doesn't do that, they've axed it. It's the same. So more weasel words from this Prime Minister, you know, who more and more, you know, that thing, you can tell when Keir Starmer's lying, his lips move. I mean, he's just a liar. The winter fuel allowance is not back, and today they confirmed that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an absolute shambles from start to finish with all of this. Let's take it from the top. The Labour Party won the election by default. Nobody was particularly very popular with them, and already Starmer and his cronies are incredibly unpopular, and deservedly so. They came in without any ideas whatsoever because they believed their own BS and thinking that, well, we're not the Tories, so we're the good guys and it'll be fine, discovering that isn't actually the case at all. What do they then do? They turn to the civil servants who've wanted to do this policy change for a long time, and there is logic to it. Spending is out of control and has been out of control ever since the end of the Second World War, and we do need to tighten our belts and be much more sensible and much more serious about our fiscal outlook. We borrow more and more and more, and the debt interest, that is to say, the money that we pay just to keep having all of that debt, not even paying it down, but the debt interest gets higher every year, and so it takes up a bigger chunk of our overall budget. We spend a lot more on debt interest payments than we do on the entirety of our defence as the world gets more dangerous. But it does seem very silly that this was the one thing they chose to cut that would upset and scare so many people when they didn't have a way to properly means test who would actually need it in place. Then there's the political shambles, them saying, oh, we're going to get rid of it, we're not going to get rid of it. Some ministers saying, well, if we don't cut this winter fuel payment, then Britain's going to go broke all on its own. The whole thing is just a shambles. And if they can't get this one reasonably straightforward policy idea and suggestion right, do we have any confidence they're going to fix the debt? Do we have any confidence they're going to get our military rearmed again, to get the economy going again, to face up to Russia and China? Any of these sensible things? I think not.
I think that this gaslighting of the public by this government is turning into a real crisis. They are governing by announcement. They just make all these announcements. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Well, yeah, big deal. What about something now? The pensions minister, Rachel from Accounts, said more people will get winter fuel payment this winter. Torsten Bell, the magnificently named Torsten Bell. What kind of a name is that? A couple of parents. What should we call our son? What about Torsten? Yeah, that's a good idea. Torsten Bell, anyway. He said, and I quote, there is no prospect where is it here? There was no prospect of returning to a universal winter fuel payment in England and Wales. So that's it, game over. It's not happening. It's another lie from this Prime Minister, and there will be pensioners who freeze to death as a result of it this winter. And by the way, Rachel from Accounts says that any adjustments they make won't happen until what she calls the autumn budget, which I believe is October. So that's a little bit late, isn't it, to sort things out for the winter. Now, stay where you are, James, because we're going to be joined now by Angela. She's a pensioner who phoned us some time ago, and I remember she told us this horrendous story about her best friend, and we'll get her thoughts on what she thinks about the way this government is going about the winter fuel allowance. So welcome to the show, Angela.
Oh, hello, good evening.
Now, tell us what happened to your friend.
Well, I found earlier on in the year she could not afford to put her heating on because the £300 thing had gone. And she just went into the bathroom to have a... She was so cold. The house was so cold. And she must have been just having a wash in the bathroom or something, and she just died, and she was frozen. The house was freezing. The house was cold, and I visit her every day, so I know she didn't put the heating on.
And you found her, Angela. You found her frozen to death. You found her frozen to death, didn't you?
Frozen to bloody death, honest to God. And the ambulance kept saying to me, oh, try and get her up, I said, she's dead. She's frozen solid. How do you wake somebody up that's frozen solid? Anyway, it's not about that. Starmer
I think it is, Angela. It's serious. What was your friend's name, Angela?
My friend's name was Betty.
So, and whereabouts in the country do you and Betty?
In North Wales. In North Wales.
So let's just recap on that. Betty had found out that she wasn't going to get the £300 winter fuel allowance that she relied on to keep her home warm and to heat herself through the cold months. So you went round, as you did every day, and you found her literally frozen to death. Unbelievable.
Yes. Unbelievable, it is. And Starmer said about the last government, before he got in, that Tories would say that there's 4,000 people going to die of the cold this winter. Well, he's beat that target by 4,950.
What do you think about what's happened in the last week, Angela, where under intense pressure the Prime Minister stood up in the House of Commons last week and sort of basically said there's going to be a U-turn on the winter fuel allowance. A lot of people assumed that would mean you'd all get your £300 again. Well, it turns out it's a lie. You're not going to get that. What do you think about that?
What I'm going to do is invest in a dinghy boat and go over to France and come back on a small boat and get a three meals a day in a hotel. And I think all the other pensioners should join me. And if we die on the way, we're drowning anyway in the country. We might as well drown in the bloody sea, but if we get a bonus, we'll come back and we'll get a three-course meal, a free hotel, free phones, free televisions, free everything.
Well, that's where the money's going, Andrew, and it's not going on you, and it's certainly not going on Betty.
No, it certainly isn't. That bloody Rachel from accounts needs to be bloody ashamed of herself. I don't know how she sleeps at night, to be quite honest.
Well, don't exclude Starmer from that condemnation. This is your socialist government at work. Do you know what it is, Angela? They don't like old people because old people don't tend to vote Labour. But when you tell your story about Betty, I mean, that is such a tragedy.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I voted Labour all my life. Well, not again. Never again. Never, ever again will I do that. Well, I won't vote the Tories either because they let us down as well.
Well, are you going to vote Reform?
I'm going to vote Reform.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are
the rest of the country should as well.
I think that the way things are going, Angela, I think they may well do that.
But do they actually think we're so stupid that they put up the minimum wage, then they put up the poll tax, then they put up the water bill, then they put up the gas bill? That won't even cover what they've put up.
I think you just...
What is wrong with these people? Are they stupid or do they think we're stupid?
You've hit the nail on the head. They do think we're stupid. They really do.
They really do.
Yeah. Listen...
They just don't listen. They're not listening to the people that, I'm in my 70s and I've worked very hard for this country and I've paid my national insurance and I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
And for them to live in a hotel with free phones, be that. And I'm not saying that they're all that bad. I'm not saying that.
No, I know what you're saying. It's a strange priority that they spend this fortune on foreigners who come across the channel illegally, and yet they let people like your friend Betty freeze to death. I mean, it's extraordinary. Angela, listen, really good to talk to you. I've got to move on now, but we'll keep in touch with you. Thank you very much. That's Angela there from North Wales. So there you go, James. She went round to see her friend Betty. Her friend Betty had literally frozen to death.
It's just a heartbreaking human tragedy, and we'll hold Betty and Angela as well for having to find her in my prayers tonight. I think that it shows how much power government can have to try and save lives, and therefore how responsible we need to be with that power and responsible we need to be with the money. I don't think that it's entirely right to put this at the feet of the winter fuel payments alone. If we're in a situation where a £300 payout is the only difference between life and death for somebody, then something structurally has gone really wrong. And what is the big structural thing that's gone really wrong? The fact that we have the most expensive electricity, the most expensive energy in the whole of the developed world. If we had energy costs that were the cost of the American energy costs, then Betty wouldn't have died either. And nor would lots of other people, and our economy would be going on a lot better. And that would mean our hospitals would be better funded, our schools better funded, and the rest of it. And so the people that you should be angry at as well is Ed Miliband, who is pursuing these mad, dangerous, suicidal net zero policies that is not going to change anything in the environment. What's going to change that is going to be exciting new technologies that are going to give us clean power, small modular nuclear reactors and all sorts of other exciting technologies that we should be pushing for, but not the fact that we have the most expensive electricity in the world, and it's all self-inflicted. That, I think, dwarfs the issue of the winter fuel payment or anything else. And if we had, as I say, American-style energy pricing from fracking and all sorts of other things like that, then poor Betty would be alive and could be listening to this show right now.
I'm just going to leave you with one thought. Last Friday, we had on this show the heartbroken son of a farmer called John Charlesworth. They'd had in their farm in Yorkshire. That had been in the family since the 1950s, generation to generation to generation. So John Charlesworth heard about the incoming inheritance tax raid by the Labour government, and because he was so keen, anxious to be able to pass on the farm without this tax burden to his son, to the rest of his family, as they'd always done, he committed suicide. He killed himself. This was recorded in the coroner's court. His son, Jonathan, came on last week and told the story of how he'd walked in to find his dad dead, having committed suicide. It was an extraordinary story. So what I'm saying here is, we think about the story of Betty, think about the story of John Charlesworth, and what these socialists, these people in their ivory towers, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, should think about, should start to understand, is their ruthless, cruel policies have consequences. And if people are dying because of your policies. If people are committing suicide because of your policies, you should have a look at yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Although, of course, these are also the same people who are allowing this assisted suicide legislation to go through as well, that will make it much easier for all these people who are worried to go and kill themselves as well. And I think that the ineluctable conclusion, for me certainly, and the driving force, the reason that I've been in politics for a long time and want to continue this fight, is that socialism, as you say exactly rightly, Kevin, doesn't care about people's lives, doesn't care about people dying. Socialism and communism across the 20th century responsible for the deaths of more people than any other evil, murderous ideology, 100 million people plus, because of these cruel and inhumane and ridiculous policies that never work in whatever shape or form they're in. Never, ever elect these socialists ever again. Never let them forget what they're doing to our country.
I think we should be all right on that score, the way this government's going, but unfortunately we've got to wait 4 years before we vote them out. James, fantastic to talk to you